Despite the fact that I've known my best friends for 6 years, they only invited my boyfriend to their wedding. Not me. So for perspective, I, 23F, have known this guy, 24M, who I'll name Roger, for 6 years now. He and I were assigned to a musical ensemble together our first year of college and remained in it for 4 years. This group is also where I met my partner, 24M, and he met Roger as well. There were a number of other guys in the group, and we were and continue to be excellent friends. Especially since the other 4, including my BF, are in a band that they have continued after college. I was not excluded from this group, I simply wasn't interested in the time commitment, so I declined to join when they first started. They've actually gotten rather well known in our local scene, they're a very talented group. Anyway, on to the current scenario. Roger had been with his girlfriend, 22F, since before I knew him, and when she started attending the same school as us, everyone in the group became close with her. I wouldn't call her a friend, we have no beef as far as I know. We're just not very close, and we just talk during shows. I like her though, and we always say hello and speak when we see each other. So my boyfriend and I have known these guys for almost the same amount of time. We spent all of college with Roger seeing each other at least twice a week for this group, though it was typically much more, and we still hang out with him occasionally outside of the musical scene. So Roger is marrying his fiancée this summer. When I learned of their engagement, I immediately offered them both congratulations. We received the save the date invitation in the mail a few months ago. It was addressed just to my lover, which I felt was unusual, but it was only a save the date, so I didn't think too much of it. Put it on the refrigerator. Well, last week the wedding invitation arrived. It was again addressed only to my boyfriend. We opened it, and there was no evidence of anything, including a +1, which I don't believe I should be for my lover. I believe I should be invited on my own merits. My boyfriend mentioned they might have addressed it to him because we live together. But that's exactly my issue. We live together, therefore any communication should be addressed to both of us. Otherwise, I suppose the mail address is his. This has harmed me deeply. I suppose it's fine if they don't regard us as friends, but the fact that they know my partner and I both live here, and that I expect to be invited given how everyone else in this old group is, makes this feel like a real hit in the gut. Update 1: Am I meant to attend this wedding or not? August 14th, 2024. Hello everyone. So, to summarize my earlier post, some pals are getting married this weekend. My previous piece posed the question of why my name was not on the invitation sent to my fiancé at my flat. My fiancé and I met at the same time we met the groom, and we started dating around a year and a half later. We worked together as a musical ensemble throughout school, and my fiancé and the other members chose to continue and start their own band. I wasn't excluded from this, I just wasn't interested in the time commitment, and I don't regret my decision because they are busy seekers. But because my fiancé and I are still together, I see the groom and his bride to be pretty frequently. As far as I know, we've never had a disagreement, and we always speak politely and greet one another. Like each other's Instagram posts and whatever. Given the context of our relationship, and the fact that my fiancé and I have lived together for 3 years, and the invitation was sent to the flat that we share, the fact that my name was not on the invitation indicates that I am not invited. My fiancé kept saying things like, oh, maybe they didn't realize they were supposed to put your name on it as well, or arguing it was a mistake because someone else wrote the invites, to which I replied that they would have written the invites based on the names they were provided. I inquired if I would be TA if I asked why I hadn't been invited, and I was told that I would, and I was probably correct that I was not invited. Others agreed that it was quite impolite of them. I accepted that response, and while I still believe the entire situation was disrespectful, I've let it go, and I have no plans to talk negatively about, or to them, or to generate any drama, because it is up to them who attends their wedding. They will not be at mine. My fiancé agreed with me about the scenario after another member of this group recently sent out save the dates for his wedding, using both of our names on the invitation, and I told him that a month previously, we had received an invitation from one of my fiancé's acquaintances, whom I had only met a few times, and that both of our names were on the invitation. But I digress. The reason for today's post is that the wedding is this weekend. For some reason, my fiancé keeps asking if I am going. Apparently, he asked the groom and was told verbally that I was invited. But, considering that my name was neither on the invitation or the save the date we received earlier, I can't just take that as proof that I'm invited there. I believe that if I was invited and my fiancé inquired as to why my name was not on the invitation, one of them should have contacted me personally if they expected me to go. But they have not. And for whatever reason, my fiancé thinks they expect me to be there. And he continues repeating he doesn't want to have to explain why I am not present. I keep telling him there's nothing to explain because I wasn't invited. But here's where I'm conflicted. I really don't want to start any trouble surrounding their wedding. I appreciate their choice not to invite me if that is how they want their day to go. I believe that no one should be forced to invite someone they do not want to their wedding. But I am also well aware that there will be several people there who are close to my fiancé and me as a couple, and will wonder why I am not there. It may also generate a stir if somebody asks the bride and groom directly. Which I realize may come across as main character syndrome. I don't believe people will be too concerned about where I am, but my fiancé and I travel everywhere together, so my absence will be noticed by our friends, and some of them aren't good at understanding when to let things be. So I have no idea what to do here. Here are the options I have right now. Accept my fiancé's word for it that they want me there, despite all evidence to the contrary, and show up, risking being unwelcome and possibly upsetting them on their wedding day. Do not go. Make up a bogus tale for my fiancé to tell everyone so that no one will try to dig for rumor. Don't go tell my fiancé, either tell the truth, that I wasn't invited, or come up with his own narrative if he's not comfortable with that. I'm leaning towards option 3, which honestly feels petty, and my argument is that if they didn't want people to wonder why I wasn't there, they should have invited me. That is obviously a bit petty. But I can't see why I should lie for them, since they don't even appreciate me as my fiancé's long-term partner, whom they've known for many years, let alone as a friend. What do you all think? Is there another alternative here where I don't feel like a doormat but also don't come across as an arsehole? Or is this one of those situations in which I can only get the upper hand if I cover for them on their wedding day? Any views and advice are welcome, and thank you. And please feel free to ask any clarifying questions if anything does not make sense, or if something appears to be missing. There is also one element that I couldn't quite figure out where to fit in here. However, when we received the invitation, the second envelope for their wedding was addressed only to my fiancé. I spoke with a friend about it who vaguely knows who the couple is, because I wanted to ask someone who wouldn't bring it up with them if I was overreacting. And she ended up telling me last month that she found out a different friend of hers who was really good friends with the bride all through school and thought they were still friends was also not invited. I wouldn't say that makes much of a difference in the broader picture of the problem, but it does appear pertinent. I wanted to ask them for clarity, but as I've never been in this situation before, I wanted to ask others who may have more experience with weddings how I should ask. Everyone said I'd be an awful arsehole for even thinking about asking because it's their wedding and I'm obviously not invited. And putting them in the situation of having to tell me that to my face would be inappropriate. Instead of being upset with me for asking for advice on how to handle the situation, you should have participated in the first time I asked, and perhaps the reaction you would have received would have shown you why I thought it was wrong to ask. Edit 2. Thank you to everyone who gave me legitimate advice and helped me make the proper decision, as well as everyone who was being extremely condescending about me not asking them. How would you feel if you did not invite someone to your wedding and they later confronted you about it? I understand that you should be straightforward with them, but some individuals don't want to risk the drama, and that's fine. It's their day. It's not really my position to make a fuss over it. If it turns out that it was a mistake, they can explain it to me, and we can joke about it before moving on. But if I'm correct, it would be quite embarrassing for them to make a fuss over it when the day has nothing to do with me. This isn't about this generation being afraid to talk to others, it's about having the common courtesy to recognize when it's okay to make a situation about me, and when it isn't. This is one of those instances in which it is not. So I wanted to know the best method to ensure that I don't cause any drama for them surrounding their wedding. I did get a lot of good perspectives on probable faults that may have happened here, and I'm happy to accept that as a reality if they explain it to me. But for the time being, I'm just going to silently accept the situation as it is and find something fun to do this weekend. Update 2 August 19th, 2024. Hello everybody. This is not a particularly exciting update, but numerous people requested one, so I thought I'd simply explain how things went yesterday. So first and foremost, I'm pleased I didn't go. My fiancé was upset when he returned home from the wedding and told me I was on to something. Turns out I wasn't the only one who was absent, but my fiancé is still perplexed by the whole situation because it struck him as strange that people didn't have their partners there. Many people inquired about my whereabouts, and my fiancé simply stated that I would be unable to attend. But the bride and groom did not inquire about me, but the groom approached my fiancé and said something like, "Can't wait for your wedding," which made him see I was correct about the whole affair. None of the bridal party, many of whom we knew well, asked about me, which surprised him given how many of the guests did. One thing that struck me as weird was that my girlfriend confirmed there was no assigned seat for me, although there were plenty unoccupied seats, which makes me question whether they understood how perplexing and strange this was and were planning for people's wives who weren't invited to show up and play it off by having a seat open. I do not know. That is pretty much all. The whole issue feels even more confused after the wedding, but I believe it's quite evident that I was correct and made the proper decision by not going. No actual drama occurred. I'm not going to bother trying to find out more from them or anyone else, but it's frustrating to say the least. My fiancé is also disappointed to discover how little these buddies appreciate not only me as a person but also as their spouse. But that's how things happen sometimes, I suppose. I just wish they had been more open. Even if the excuse they offered was a lie, I wasn't invited. I would have understood if they had said it was a problem of numbers, but the way they handled this appears weak and cowardly to me. However, it appears that we were not the only long-term relationship they did this to, so I believe it says much more about them than it does about me. Thank you to everyone who provided suggestions and diverse opinions. I'm so glad I wrote here because you guys made me feel more secure in my assessment of the issue and helped me make the best option to prevent the most trouble or shame. Comments: did the groom simply ask where Oop was and invite the groom's wife to Oop's wedding? He didn't ask where I was. He expressed to my girlfriend his excitement for our wedding. But he didn't inquire about me, and no one else in the bridal party did either, despite the fact that many of our other friends had. This leads me to believe they were all aware I was not invited. If he had asked where I was before or after making that comment, I believe it could have been understood in the manner you describe, but he did not inquire about me at all. I just mentioned that I was anticipating an invitation to our wedding, despite the fact that I was not present, and he didn't seem to find that unusual. We recently got engaged at the end of June, so we don't have a date set yet. It's not as if they've already received an invitation to ours, but he intends to attend, despite the fact that he and his wife did not think I was worthy of attending theirs. Her fiancé finds the best in people, which is why he attended the wedding. He is and does. It's one of my favorite things about him, but I'm sorry he had to go see for himself. I suppose it was more painful for him to realize it then than if he had accepted it earlier and elected to stay home. I don't blame him for attending, and I understand why he believes they wouldn't do this. I was also surprised. On the other hand, if this had been a significant etiquette misstep, and they had inquired about me, the issue could have been clarified there. However, it would have been more difficult to resolve if we'd both avoided it. But at least we know they aren't individuals that appreciate us, so we can move on. Moving on to the next story. Fiancé came out as bisexual and expressed a want to explore with other ladies. So I agreed to open our relationship, but Betty, 27, and I, 30, became engaged in January after dating for a few years. We planned to marry next year, once we had saved enough money for the wedding. We moved in together in late January, shortly after being engaged. Betty was a bridesmaid for one of her friends in May, but I was unable to attend owing to my employment and the 5-day vacation. Betty enjoyed reuniting with some of her former friends, but a few weeks later she became gloomy and distant. I was relieved when she scheduled an appointment with a therapist because she hadn't told me what was bothering her. After approximately 5 or 6 sessions, she sat me down on Saturday morning to discuss. Betty was reared in an extremely traditional environment and had to repress her inclinations until she moved away to college. Even then, she refused to accept certain beliefs. Betty was asked to college during the wedding. She was introduced to the wife of one of her college girlfriends, which generated a lot of repressed impulses during the days they spent together prior to the wedding. She informed me she had romantic and sexual feelings for both women and men, and she realized she was bisexual. I told her I was glad she felt safe enough to share this with me, and it didn't affect my feelings towards her. It was a really emotional moment. She asked how I felt about her exploring her sexuality now that it was open. I stated I was willing to explore it with her, and potentially form a threesome with another woman to give her the opportunity. She desired a one-on-one experience with another lady but felt she couldn't have it with me present. I told her it seemed more like an affair, which I was not comfortable with. I asked her if she wanted to cancel the wedding and split until she decided what she wanted to do. She was adamant it was not what she wanted, and while she was still in love with me and wanted to marry, she felt she needed to explore these feelings before we settled down together. I questioned her if she did anything inappropriate at the wedding or cheated on me. I asked if she had someone in mind or had been talking to anyone since she returned. She acknowledged to dancing with a female at the reception and kissing at the end of the night, but nothing more happened. But she denied speaking with anyone or planned anything. She understands that this was a lot to ask of me at once, and she did not anticipate an immediate response. She only suggested that I have an open mind and continue talking about it. I couldn't promise anything, but I agreed to conduct some study and speak with a colleague who had an open marriage to see how they cope. I did warn her that if I discovered she was lying or doing something behind my back, there would be no second chances and I would leave. My coworker has been extremely helpful and transparent about their relationship. My brother introduced me to a support group, which has helped me cope with our relationship adjustments. I'm now working on my second book and met with Betty on Thursday night to check in and discuss next steps. I hired a couples therapist, gave her the book one had finished, and told her we should postpone the wedding for 6 months to see whether it was still the road we wanted to take. I was on a roll when she stopped me and asked whether I was intending on dating other people. It never occurred to her that I would be dating too. She kind of shut down after that, giving me one-word responses when I asked her anything. I believe the longest sentence I got was, "I just don't know." She has remained like way for 24 hours, as if she is lost in a fog. I'm just bracing myself for the inevitable outpouring of emotion. I would have assumed she would be pleased that I was considering expanding our connection. Update: one Saturday night, her fog lifted, and things became heated. She claimed that the open relationship was my attempt to punish her and be vindictive by dating other women. She was simply requesting some space to express her emotions. I responded that she exhibited little remorse for cheating on me and instead demanded an open-ended hall pass to do so again. I informed her that our friends had told me she had begged them not to say anything about what happened during the wedding, so I would probably never know the whole truth and would have to accept that it was worse than she admitted. I questioned if she felt it was fair to go have sex with other people, while I waited by the door like a lovesick puppy who was only expected to wag his tail when she decided to come home and pay me some attention. After that, it developed into some unpleasant words from both of us. I finally gave her 3 alternatives if she wanted to proceed. 1. Monogamy postpones the wedding and leads to couples counseling. No experimentation. When we reach an agreement, proceed with the wedding with a prenup to safeguard me in case she changes her mind and cheats again. 2. With an open partnership, we may both date whomever we choose, and she can discover her sexuality on her own terms. If we are still together in a year or so, we will be able to determine whether marriage is still a viable choice. 3. She moves out, leaving us free to pursue our lives as we see fit. If / decides she wants monogamy with me, and I have not moved on, we can try option 1. It would be a new beginning, not simply continuing where we left off. She decided she needed some distance to think things through and will stay with friends for a few days. I informed her before she left that if she accidentally cheated while she was gone, she should not return except to pick up the rest of her belongings. I received a text from her this morning, and I really apologize. When I asked her what she meant, she didn't respond, and my call went to voicemail. I won't contact her again, and I'll wait for her to contact me when she's ready. Comments: GLBDs, it appears that your partner has been self-centered about this. It is a good idea to take your time with your engagement. Even as a hypothetical, the loss of exclusivity can be extremely disruptive to an established mono-relationship. Keep chatting. You appear to be managing this extremely well, perhaps better than her. I attempted to manage this politely, but it appears fair to her as an open pass for her but not for me. I am expected to grin and nod as she has sex and potentially develops feelings for someone else. Then she got offended when I reminded her that she was the one who cheated. I just completed printing cards to notify everyone we received save the date notices to that we are canceling the wedding. I'm not sure how I'll react when they start asking why the cards I'm sending out are just due to new circumstances. Update to August 18, 2024. Betty attended her previously arranged therapist visit on Wednesday and informed her what had happened between us. I'm not sure what was said, but she contacted me on her way to her friend's house to apologize for some of what she said and to invite me home to talk about it. I told her to stay at her friend's place tonight and think about what she wanted, and then return home Thursday so we could sit down and hash things out. On Thursday, we met at the house and talked over dinner. We both apologized for becoming agitated and uttering some unkind things to each other. After speaking with her therapist and having multiple chats with her best friend in recent days, she has chosen not to pursue her bisexual impulses. The prospect of a really open relationship in which I could sleep with other people worried her, and being married was more important than chasing the rainbow. Her first plan had been a free pass to discover if she was missing anything in her life, and how important it was to her. I inquired whether she was looking for an ons, merely dating a woman, or a full relationship. She couldn't say exactly what she wanted. That did not strike me as very monogamous or fair. She agreed, which is why she had given up on investigating her sentiments. She then brought up the notes I sent out to cancel our wedding save the date notices. She stated that she received numerous calls concerning what had occurred and was initially ignorant of what they were discussing. She was furious that I'd done this without first consulting her. I reminded her that she lobed 2 grenades in my lap, came out as bisexual, and cheated on me before leaving and refusing to communicate with me except for a cryptic "I'm so sorry" text followed by silence. While I never stated anything other than that we were having problems and had to postpone the wedding, there was clear conjecture that she had cheated on me. She shifted tactics, saying we could still get back on track and marry next spring. No. Because now that one of us is out of town, my thoughts will be preoccupied with you straying again, especially after coming out and expressing a desire to have an affair to explore your sexuality. I suggested that we might be able to get back on track after couples therapy, but not by the end of the year, and that it would be irresponsible to begin planning and making financial commitments before we knew whether or not therapy would help. In addition, I wanted a prenuptial agreement to preserve everything I brought into the marriage, including my prospective retirement savings. She would also forfeit any equity if we purchased a home. When she protested, I told her that if she planned to stay faithful and not change her mind later, it would never happen. Just something to ease my mind. For the past few days, there has been an ongoing discourse. Betty wants to brush off the incident at the wedding and proceed with our wedding. Exploring her sexuality isn't worth compromising our relationship or her view. For the time being, we're back together and intend to begin counseling soon. In a post-clarity moment, I realized I hurried to embrace the concept of an open relationship to give Betty the freedom to explore her new feelings, and I'm no longer willing to contemplate that option. I believe separation is the preferable option. We're splitting up, if you will, till we both determine where our future lays and whether it's with each other. It's not what I want, but I don't want to spend the next 3 to 5 years with her only to have her change her mind or cheat on me one day.